Hi, thanks for joining me in the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today, I have a fellow podcaster on my show. His name is Jason Townsend, and he has a podcast with his friend, and it's called Shit I Told My Hairdresser. So I listened to about, I don't know, a dozen episodes in the last few days, and I'm hooked. So he is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, your favorite podcast platform. He's on there. So go check him out. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are a hairdresser, and it sounds like you
I
probably
am.
have some interesting stories that I would love to hear. You worked in LA for a while, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And were you in a more upscale salon in LA?
I was in Beverly Hills. I worked in, a few of them from like Brentwood, from Juan
Oh,
to
that's a big
Orchard
one.
Comey to Chris McMillan.
Okay.
And some of those stories come from those salons. Some of them come from beauty school, like we just talked about last week, and some of them come from our current salon that I work at now. I'm up in
Yeah.
Seattle now. And so we are having just a blast. People come in and tell us some of the strangest stories.
Do you feel like a
And
therapist sometimes?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. All the time. I mean, people come with us with problems all the time. But the way you have to look at it is that you're coming in for me to solve a problem.
Yeah.
I'm there to go through and either sometimes fix your hair or maintain it.
Yeah.
And so when we have our consultation, it can take anywhere from about 5 to 10 minutes sometimes. And at the end of that consultation, I've hopefully have solved a problem for you. Whether how to style your hair, what type of appliance you use or product.
Yeah.
And when you feel that, then you kind of start trusting me.
Yeah.
And then from that point, it's like, hey, I know I can go through and talk to you about a lot of other things, and maybe you have some advice. But the caliber of people that come into the salons I've worked at, someone's told me one time that you know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
And you have to imagine meeting 8 to 9 people a day from every walk of life. And you have people who are CEOs, who run companies, who own their own businesses, and you hear, a lot. So you get these fantastic stories from them, but then you're also learning. If you listen to these people, you're learning a lot from them as well, too. So there's a bit of a give and take with that as well, I would say.
Yeah. Have you had celebrity clients?
Yes,
And
I have.
Are they?
And we do talk about them. We talk about them in the podcast, and a lot of names we can't mention because some of these bitches will definitely slap us with a case. You know what I mean? So I'm like, no. Some of them we can.
Tell me one of the crazy stories that you can say their name, if you can.
Oh, there's one that we just talked about. I wouldn't say it was crazy. I think it was stupid on my part.
Okay.
And back when I used to drink and I worked at Chris McMillan, he would always have his Christmas parties at his salon.
Okay.
And you would walk into the salon Christmas party and it would be a who's who inside there. You never know who would be walking through that door.
Because clients would come in as well?
Also, he would invite clients, and it was very private. It was like a little bungalow right on Burton Way, really close to the Four Seasons Hotel.
Okay.
And we'd have valet, and there was a gate right there. Once you got past the gate, so paparazzi could not get in.
Okay.
You weren't allowed to see anything. And it was always like a who's who inside there. And it's this tiny little place, so everyone's on top of each other. And I had a little too much to drink that night because it's our Christmas party, right? And I told Jennifer Aniston that her stupid haircut paid for my mortgage for years. And I got okay. And I'm like, oh man. And I never lived that one down for years.
Because so many people were copying her haircut. Is that why? Or because you gave her that haircut?
Everyone thought that, well, no, I'm not the one who gave it to her. Chris did. So she was a client of, she actually still is his client. If you look at the Uber ad, if you watch it on there, the guy with the shaved head, that's my old boss.
Okay.
Right. So it's like, she was always at the parties. And I just had too much to drink, and everyone would always walk into that salon thinking they're going to see her or that, I can give them that haircut no matter what.
Yeah.
So you got so tired. I've been doing it since the 90s. And what I should have said was thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just came out wrong because I was very appreciative because it did make me a lot of money. But it was just one of those things where it was like, you have to think these are real people too.
Yeah.
And what do you talk to them about? 9 times out of 10, you're talking about the new restaurant or the flowers are growing in their garden or,
And what about like influencers, which is like the whole new celebrity and stuff? So tell me about those
that I
type of
got
people.
away from.
Okay.
Those I got away from. I had trouble with some influencers because they want everything for free.
Oh,
And
really?
that's a big problem. Yes.
Oh,
I've
because would they would
actually had
mention you, they say, or something? Is that why they would get you be for free?
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's a two-way street for influencers. So if they can help you out, then I have no problems going through and
Mhm.
doing their hair for free. But I would say close to 99% of them don't.
So they
There's
want a
a
free
lot.
haircut and then they give nothing back.
Exactly. So like, oh, I have all these followers. The people who are making you the big promises don't do anything for you.
Yeah.
And I had a girl who just like went through on Google and on Facebook and just trashed me
Really?
because I wouldn't do her hair for free anymore because I didn't get anybody from her. But there's also the thing I used to do here in Seattle, probably the top 10 influencers here in the area. And they were my clients. And as soon as I told them what was going on, I gave them the name. Someone had to move back to the Midwest because someone got blackballed. So there's two ways that all of this as well, though, too.
Wow.
Just because you're an influencer doesn't mean you go through and just trash everyone and talk shit.
Yeah.
So
Wow, I'm surprised that they would. I mean, well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I think that they probably have the millennials that think they should have everything. So
correct.
yeah.
So that's the thing. So it's like there's a two-way street when it comes to influencers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the ones now I really don't pay too much attention to because they don't give you enough. And maybe I'm just not in that world anymore, being outside of LA. I'm not really paying attention too much to these people.
Yeah,
because
it's like the
they all want to be in LA.
It's like the housewives where they say like there was one of the fashion designers said, "Yeah, I don't do anything with the housewives because they never pay."
Ever.
So because they expect to get everything for free. So
ever, yeah. And my favorite were the Orange County ones.
oh, did you ever meet them and cut their hair?
I never did, but I got to meet them at the Chateau one afternoon.
Oh,
they were coming in for dinner. And Walter was the maitre d' there. And Walter is this very tall, elegant black man. And he's just gorgeous. And this guy comes over to say, hey, we have an 8 o'clock reservation tonight. And he goes, I know. I'm sorry. We're running a little bit late. Give me a few minutes. They come back 15 minutes later. The whole group is there.
Yep.
And he goes, we need the table now. And he goes, do you know who we are? Of course, that line. Yeah, exactly. Insert eye roll here.
Yeah.
And Walter looks at him and he pulls his glasses down and goes, no, actually, I don't know who you are.
Goes, do they have camera crews with them and stuff?
This is the Real Housewives of Orange County.
Yeah.
And he goes, now I know, and now you'll be waiting even longer. And I was like, literally, my vodka tonic almost went flying sideways out my nose. The whole room erupted and they all left. Because as soon as you hear Housewives, everyone just backs away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
did they have cameras with them that night, or they were just all on their
own?
I mean, did they think that there wasn't bigger, like real stars that came in there? I mean, that's kind of funny that they thought that they were.
You know who had the biggest laugh that night?
Who?
Sitting behind me, Jerry Seinfeld. Sitting right behind, and you can that laugh. It's like everyone kind of like locked eyes and we're like, what in the hell was that?
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was such a gorgeous night. We were dying, and they all just walked out.
So when you're doing clients' hair, sometimes when they're telling you these stories, do you ever get like you're just so bored with it and you just got to get through the haircut or the hairstyle and it's just the worst, or are you always a little entertained by people?
It depends on what it is. I'm pretty good at changing the subject. I'll go right back to their hair if I need to, or I'll turn the blow dryer on to where it just starts getting kind of quiet.
Yeah.
That's definitely like, if I start blow drying, I get quiet. That means I'm bored of you.
Okay.
That's for sure.
And what about if somebody comes in, they have nothing to say, they're just saying they're quiet? Do you care about those type of clients?
I love it.
Okay.
I talk so much that when sometimes they're quiet, I've had people tell me like, hey, you want to what? I don't want to talk. I'm like, that's totally fine. I totally get it.
Because sometimes I don't want to talk, and I just go in there, but I feel like I have to sometimes. But I love the woman that cuts my hair. So I want to. This is another question I have for you. Do they ever want to be your friend, like outside of you styling their hair? Because like the woman that cuts my hair and dyes my hair, like I love her and I want to like hang out with her. I want to go out to drinks with her and have a night out. And she's into it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's into it because she just loves
Everyone
gay
thinks they're your
guys.
friend.
Huh?
Everyone thinks they're your friend. They're your best
Yeah.
friend. You know,
Yeah.
because you
That's
get to
what.
know these people. I mean, I have a client that flies in from LA every 6 weeks. And
Wow.
I've seen it. I mean, I was there when she got pregnant with her daughter. I saw her go off to college, you know, so you know a lot about these people. She won't let anybody touch her hair but me, you know, so she flies in like on the dot every 6 weeks to get
Wow.
her hair done. So there are certain people that, yes, I will go to dinner with. She's definitely one of them,
Yeah.
you know, and we've shared a lot of life experiences, but there's some who want to go through and pretend like they are your friend. And if they're late or miss an appointment, not get charged because, hey, we're friends, right? And I go, yeah, but I'm also running a business. You know, you have to respect that too. And a friend would respect that
Yeah.
and actually pay me for my time.
The woman that cuts my hair, her and I talk about. So I'm in the Boston area, and it's some people. She said that my question to her was, "Does you ever get not tipped? Does people ever not tip you?" And she said she had this one woman that was coming to her for a very long time, and was a little high maintenance, and she was doing like this long process of whatever it was that she was doing to her hair. It wasn't just a haircut and a blowout or whatever. It was like, the whole dyeing and all that. It seemed like it was she was there for a few hours.
Yeah.
And she said the woman would never tip. And then one day she kind of just asked her about it. Like, is there a reason why, like, are you not happy with my service? And the woman's like, no, I love it. I've been coming here for, 9 months or whatever. And just because she just doesn't tip. That's not part of who she is, she said.
Yeah. And that's
It's
okay. You're still
That's
giving me
crazy
money.
though.
Yeah. I know it is a service-based industry, and certain cultures, like you go to England, no one tips.
Yeah,
I mean, they
but she's
tip
in Boston, not England. She's got a tip.
yeah, I get a lot of international clients, you know what I mean? So sometimes they'll tip like 10%, sometimes they don't at all. You know what I mean? But, I charge a lot of money for a haircut, and that's all I do. And to me, sometimes if you don't want to tip, I'm kind of fine with it. I mean, it doesn't really bother me.
Okay.
Hopefully I gave you good service because that's what tips stand for, to ensure proper service.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And so hopefully I did give you good service, but there's also certain people. There's this one lady who tips me like literally like 5% every time she comes in, but she's in every 3 weeks on the dot for her short haircut. And I make more money off of her,
Yeah.
even with that small amount of tip, than I do a lot of my other clients that come in like maybe twice a year.
Interesting.
So that's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? As long as I'm busy and I am paying my mortgage and I'm taking care of my family, I'm good.
Tell me about some of the like one of those strangest stories that you've heard from one of your clients that you're like, it was oversharing, but you're listening and maybe it was interesting. Like, didn't you have a swingers episode on your podcast?
I did. That one was I think it's so common now about the swingers.
Okay.
There's so many people out there that are, especially in an area like this where they have like an extra home just where they can go through and throw their parties at, so it's not around their family.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not in their private home. So people actually don't know where they live. But that, and then there's like the woman who had a threesome, who just got divorced, is in her 50s, and she was telling me about a threesome that she had with this young guy that she met in the college district, and it could have been her son.
Good
and
for
her
her.
female cousin.
Her
and
female
her female
cousin.
cousin.
Oh.
Right. And then I like, now the blow dryer gets turned down a notch.
Yeah.
I got to hear this shit. Right. So I'm looking at her and I go, what? And
Like
she goes,
a first
yeah.
cousin?
She goes, yeah, she was out visiting. Yes, she was out visiting. And they were going through and she just got a divorce. They're out partying out in the college district, meet some young guy. And she said it was the guy's idea to do it. And I'm like, well, of course. Of course it was the guy's idea to do it. But I'm like, it's your cousin. And she goes, yeah, I know. So we had to set ground rules.
Well, what were the rules?
I'm like, the rules should have been, no, this is my cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was like the rules were like, here's my no-no zones. And they still did it. Imagine the walk of shame after that. I mean,
How do you
imagine the
even
next
talk to your
like right,
Thanksgiving together? Like, how are you
right,
doing that?
exactly, right.
Like, you went down on your cousin, and, like, how do you, say,
Yeah,
"Pass the turkey"? I mean,
yeah,
that's
or
very bizarre.
gravy, really.
Yeah,
Sorry, that
exactly.
was too far.
No, I get it. Um, okay, well, that is
I mean, and that my wife is looking at me like, "What in the hell?" I'm like, "I just listened. I listened to the entire thing." And I don't know if she was like trying to tell me like, "Hey, look how kinky I can get."
yeah,
Because I'm like the only straight guy there. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like, hey, look at me. I can be just as kinky. But I'm like, that's gross. That's not kinky. That's gross.
yeah.
You
That
know?
that that's too far.
Or the best friends that come in and I do both their hair, and one of them comes in and goes, "Oh, I got to talk to my best friend. I don't know how to do this." I'm like, "About what?" She goes, "Our housekeeper that we share." And I'm like, she doesn't want to work for my best friend anymore. I'm like, "Well, what is she doing? Making her clean the windows on the second story on the outside or something? Like, what's going on?" Like,
Yeah.
it's like slave labor. And she goes, "No, she's making her clean her dildos and her butt
Oh
plug."
my god.
And I'm like, I'm looking around going, who else is hearing this? Who else is hearing this? This is amazing. So every time I walk through that door, I get gold. And all you got to do is just ask a few questions, ask the
Yeah.
right questions. I tell people about the podcast, and all of a sudden, these like fantastic stories come out. You
Do they
know,
wanna be on the podcast? I mean, do they want to hear their story?
some do.
Yeah.
Some do want to hear their story. So it's like they want to get it out. But I know who's lying and who's not.
Okay.
We have a really good sense because every story that we tell is true. It's not a fabrication.
Yeah.
When we get on the podcast, we'll sit. My best friend Jack and I will sit down for a second, kind of say like, "Here's my idea." We'll think about what we want to talk about, and then it's not scripted at all. All we do is one shot,
Mhm.
and that's it. And if it's not true, you can't do that. You have to. It has to be rehearsed. You have to go through this whole, and
Yeah.
lies. That's why when people ask me about these questions about some of the stories, I can answer them because I was there or Jack was there and he heard it.
Does Jack have the same kind of craziness that's happening in where he's at?
No, he's actually new in Denver now. So he
Okay.
moved from Beverly Hills over to Denver, fell in love. So that's what love does to you, moves you to Denver. And yes, there are some of the same kind of stories. He's kind of new out there, so he's got to kind of feel it out.
Yeah.
But he's got 33 years of doing hair behind the
Yeah.
chair. And then also from like doing movies, and he did one with Lucy Liu, and was up in Canada for a while and worked with like Paul McCartney. He's worked with some really big names.
That's
Some
awesome.
really big names, you know what I mean? So he's a really good hairdresser. So he works with Sofia Coppola on some things. So, you know,
And what about whenever you get like a really I know you're married, but what happens if you get a really hot client? Are you ever distracted by that?
no, I'm really in love. You know what I mean? So I'm very happy.
Okay.
So but not only that though, it's like especially where I came from in LA,
I guess
I've
everybody's
seen
kinda
all of
hot.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like it's the land of the gorgeous people, and to me now, I'm like, oh, it's just another person walking through the door, and everybody's an actor.
Yeah.
Everyone that sits in your chair, they want to come and be at the hot spot, and they're an actor, or they're this, they're that, and I'm like, great, how's the chicken? And I go, what? I go, how's the chicken? They go, what chicken? I'm like, at the restaurant you work at, because I haven't seen you in anything.
Yeah.
And they get so offended,
So,
but
who is like? Tell me a story about the biggest asshole, the biggest bitch that came in and just like really, it was almost impossible. And have you ever had to fire a client?
oh, I've had to fire clients. Usually not actors and actresses, you know what I mean? But I would say there's been some clients where I've actually had to ask them just to get out because they're just
Really?
impossible to work with. Absolutely.
Like,
You
what do they
know,
do though? Like, what's an example of something they did? Because I feel like that's so. I mean,
we're just showing up late and demanding to have their hair done.
oh
Throwing a fit, slamming their hand on the front desk and screaming at the girl at the front desk, or and just all these demands are coming in with like, I don't know if you can see it. I have like 3 hairs on my head. I don't have much. I want them to look like 6, and they
yeah,
want them to look like 24,000. And they come in with the same hair as I do, and it's like, make me look like this. And I go, honey, I want to look like that.
yeah,
I want to look like her. And I'm a
Yeah.
guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would take that any day, but there's just certain people who, or they get, there's one story that we actually need to discuss, but it actually got very racist inside the salon,
Oh,
which
really?
I don't put up with. I mean, yeah, you can't tell by looking at me, but I'm half Honduran. My mom's from Honduras and she's a hairstylist. And I grew up in the industry. And so when it comes to any type of like racism or something like that, I grew up with it. I absolutely hate it.
So what's the story? Like, what did they say?
I had a woman come in and she was moving here to LA from, she was German, had a house in Arizona and was moving to Los Angeles because her daughter's having a baby.
Okay.
And she was asking me, I was doing her hair. She was like, what are the really good neighborhoods here? I'm like, oh my God, this is LA. I'm like, you find a really good, like Jewish neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like close to a temple. I'm like, you're going to be in an awesome neighborhood. You know what I mean? They have a sense of community. The people are always walking around outside. I'm like, that's where I live. I'm like, it's awesome. And she looked at me and she was like, I'm German. I hate Jews. And the manager, by the way, is Jewish and she's sitting right behind me. And I looked at her and I went, what? I go, honey, you're in the wrong town.
She is in the wrong town.
I go, this place is run by the Jews. I'm like, this is Hollywood. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you saying? I mean, literally, I'm like, the cape came off. I'm like, nope. And the manager was like, she walked over. She's like, I'm the manager. She was like, you're leaving. Get out. She's like, I know you want to talk to me next. Goodbye. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my God. And it's so weird when you go to Germany, they're trying to, like, people that had nothing to do with the Holocaust are trying to still make up for it because of their because of their great-great-grandparents had something to do with it. And there's
some around.
Oh God.
There's some around. Actually, Jack was in Germany. He was part of the Madonna tour and they denied him because they said he looked Jewish walking to a nightclub. So
really?
there's still some stuff I remember him telling me that story. He said that he looked that way, so they said all of his friends could go in, but not him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you get it in LA, which is the weirdest thing. The last place you would think, because it's such a melting pot, and I was like, oh, no, you're out. We're done. This haircut is done. Half of it's done. Goodbye. Go somewhere else if you're going to talk like that.
I'm in such a bubble. Boston is just like not like that at all. It's people are liberal and just, I mean, there's racism and stuff everywhere, but you would never hear anything like that here. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing what you do here. I mean, in Seattle, it's not, they think it's liberal until you get to the east side.
Okay.
And then it's not so much. So there was a lot of red flags running around, you know what I mean, over this past election around here a little bit too. And it happens, I don't hate people for believing whatever you want to believe in. I could care less, you know what I mean? Just don't force it on me.
Yeah, exactly.
But then if you're going to go through and preach hate in my chair, and I want to hear, if you expect me to go through and put up with that or agree with you, you can go.
Yeah.
You can go. I mean, I've actually worked with people before where some girl overheard me speaking to one of my clients from Venezuela in Spanish and walked over to me and says, "You're Mexican?" And I go, "No, I'm not."
Did she ask if you speak Mexican?
Then I looked at her and I go, "Did you hear me speaking Mexican?" She goes, "Yeah." "Oh, I go, right."
Yeah.
I go, "I'm Honduran." She goes, "Oh, that's why." And I go, "That's why what?" I was like, wow, okay, we're done talking. We're through here. So we're still friends. We have to work together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just, I know where she's coming from. And now you'll be treated that way. And I keep it very basic.
Yeah.
Because of people like that, you have to. No big words. You might scare them.
I feel like you have to go home and decompress from this, right? I mean, after some of these days that you have with these people
every
day. Every day. Yeah. Okay.
Every day. I have to come home. Everyone knows. Give me a good 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or I drive home with nothing on in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the radio, nothing. I just have to decompress and not hear anything. Because this is blow dryers. It's people talking all day long.
Yeah.
And then you've been hearing all these stories from people and people want your help or you're there to solve a problem or, and you are the therapist, But then also I trauma dump on them too.
Yeah.
So you want to go through and use me, I'll use you back.
What's some of the stories you told them about yourself that you and did you ever regret it?
No one's ever used anything against me. you know?
Well, did you ever regret it? Like, oh God, I shouldn't have said that much. 'Cause, I mean, I've done that at work where I've had friends at work and you know, I don't know. Probably when we were out drinking at a happy hour, I definitely like said the wrong thing, and I went home. I'm like, oh, am I going to get HR calling me tomorrow to tell me that I need to come to the office because I was
Right.
inappropriate?
I haven't had that, thank God, you know?
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I get diarrhea of the mouth, and I'll tell you certain things. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, if at the most, it's like, I'm not going to come back to Jason again,
Okay.
which is fine. You know what I mean? I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. You know what I mean? If you don't want to hear what I have to say, or if I've said too much, that's fine. But a lot of my clients are not like that. They're very open-minded. You always attract the people that are like you.
Yeah.
And I really make sure of that. I have really, really sweet, nice people who are just really open-minded. You know,
That's awesome.
so I love that part of it. And if
Yeah.
you're not that type of person, I don't want you in my chair. I don't need you in my chair. I've been doing hair for 30 something years. I don't need you.
Let me ask you about guys that come in and me as a gay man, sometimes I can't tell if a guy nowadays, like in their 20s or maybe even early 30s, if they're gay or not, because there's so much, they're it's like the metrosexual thing is like at a whole new level. So are you getting that where these guys are just, you're just, I mean, not that you're probably even care, but are you sometimes like, I don't know if this person's gay or not because it's just guys are just at a whole another level now, I think. And 10 years ago, getting a manicure and a pedicure as a guy, I was probably like, oh, I don't know. Now I'll go every week and I don't care.
Yeah.
Or every 2 weeks. But 10, 15 years ago, you would kind of sneak in and hopefully nobody would say anything negative to you. And I was living in New York too, and maybe it was 20 years ago. But now, it's half the guys in the mani pedi place where I go, it's half guys in there most of the time. And,
Yeah.
I see guys now dyeing their hair in the salon that I'm going to and stuff. So it seems more acceptable now, like, at least in the city I live in. So my question is it, do you think that guys are even more are taking care of themselves even more than they were? And is it hard to kind of tell, like, is this guy gay or not? Or do you not even think about that?
I don't even care. You know
Okay.
what I mean? If you're gay or straight or whatever, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? As long as you're a nice person. But I think people are actually, you said metrosexual, and I think of like you're taking care of yourself like a gentleman used to.
Yeah.
And that's where I think things got lost. People are kind of like, hey, are you gay? I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Oh,
Like,
about
oh, you're
you?
straight? Yeah, you're straight. And I go, yeah. Is that okay with you that I am straight? Or did you need a gay hairstylist? Because I can find you one, and they're like, oh, no, it's fine. Or a lot of guys, I've had guys not want to come and see me because they thought I was gay.
Oh, because you're a hairstylist?
I'm a hairstylist.
Oh.
Right. And I go, well, no, I have a wife and I have a son. And actually, every month or so, we go down and we get manis and petties, even my son.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he goes in and he picks out his colors and gets his nails polished and things like that. And we have a blast, because
Yeah.
there's nothing weird about it. But it's just that perception,
Yeah.
But I have a lot of male clients and they come from every walk of life because they're tired of the barbershop. They're
Mhm.
tired of going in and getting their haircut every 2 weeks and they don't get what they want.
Yeah.
And they have someone who can actually relate to them, do their hair. I do everything old school. I do everything scissor over comb. I don't pull out of
Awesome.
hair clippers at all.
Yep.
And they really appreciate that. And I really pay attention to their face structure and everything. And they know they've had a good haircut by the time they're done. Because for the guys, I'm still charging them like close to $200 for a haircut.
Yeah.
And they want that attention. They're coming to me for a reason.
Yeah.
And they want to spend that kind of money without me pulling out the clippers and just like having them in and out in 20 minutes. Some guys want that and they don't care spending the money for the haircut.
Yeah.
But most guys come in and see me just for that. So I get a lot of like football players and hockey players. And now here, that's like the new celebrity in Seattle. I'm getting those kind of guys. So people will walk by in the window and they'll see who I'm doing. And they're like, oh, isn't that? I go, yeah, don't worry. It's okay. Let's not bringing attention to them. But we also have a lot of people in Seattle who are on the news constantly, or they're being interviewed after a game and their hair has to look good. So it's every 3 weeks they're in.
Have you
So
ever made a huge mistake on somebody's hair where it was, wrong color, you cut too much?
uh, yeah. I
Okay.
think at the beginning, everyone has done that. You know what I mean? I've knocked a hole into someone's bangs
Okay.
on accident, or but nothing to where it's like super super serious. Thank
Yeah.
God. But I've seen some things. I mean, that has just been. I mean, I had a client come in one time and she took off her hat and someone cut her bangs all the way to her hairline.
Oh
So it
my
looked like
god.
you could slip a tortilla chip like right inside there. It was like this perfect like triangle.
Yeah.
It was genius. It was glorious. I loved it.
So in college, my friend was starting a new job and she's just like, "Oh, I need to cut my bangs before going into my first day of work." And I said, "Okay, I'll do it. Like, how hard can
Uh
it be?" So I wet them and combed them down and they were wet. And then when I cut them, and I didn't realize that your hair will shrink.
yes.
And she had probably the same kind of thing that your client came in, where she had like her bangs, were almost non-existent by the time I got
Right.
done with them. So they probably thought she was a little off, and when she went into her job the first couple weeks, but
Yeah, but this is a professional, you know
yeah,
what I mean, who's cutting your bangs and they went through and just massacred. I mean, I don't know if the woman pissed her off and she was like, this is my way to get back at her, or, but I mean, it was really, really bad. But
yeah,
I could kind of see why someone would do that, because when she told me that the person who sent her in said I was the guy who fixes bad haircuts.
mm,
And I'm like, yeah, well, this is to the hairline. I can't push a button and make your hair grow though.
yeah.
And she looked at me and she was like, well, then what the hell can you do? I looked at her and I said, well, I can hold your hand while you cry. I was like, what answer do you have? I mean, it's like, it's gone. It doesn't exist. It is
Yeah,
no more. I can't fix that, like push it down but people, the perception that they have in their head, like I'm going to go to the fixer and they're going to fix something. I'm not erasing a body. I'm trying to fix a haircut.
yeah. If they can give them a magic pill and it's just their hair's gonna start growing like one of
Don't
those
you think I'd
dolls.
be taking that? I'd be taking that. I would love to have that long, luscious, gorgeous hair. I'd have it down to my butt. I mean, it'd be awesome. But it's the perception that people have. I had a guy come in one time and he brought me a picture of Denzel Washington's son. I don't know if you ever seen a picture of him.
Yeah, I know who you.
If that beard, he
Yeah,
looks like a Greek god. He's
yeah.
gorgeous. And he goes, Jason, I want this beard. I went, oh my God, me too. I go, we have one problem. He goes, what's that? I go, he's black. You're white. There's no, and I'm like, what? Did you kind of do a couple of toots before you walked in, or what's going on here? Like, because that does happen. People come in pretty inebriated. And, we have the ladies who lunch, who walk
Oh
through
yeah,
the door, any given, like, Tuesday to Friday lit up by 1 o'clock.
wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I've definitely gone in with pictures, not like a Denzel Washington son picture. I think I've been more realistic, but I'm like, I want my hair like this. But this celebrity, so Timothy Chalamet, for example, I didn't use
of
him,
course.
but he has
Yeah.
amazing hair, I think. And
Yeah.
I guess if I could have hair like that, maybe I would. But um, I could see people coming in saying, I want this hair, and their hair is like straight like mine, and just like it's not going to happen. So, I mean, I guess you could let it grow and perm it and do all that other stuff or whatever you would do. But I think it would,
But
I
that's
still
what the
don't think I could.
consultation is for. As long as you have someone who is knowledgeable and can sit down with you and say, like, hey, you want to know what, your hair can't do this because of these certain
Yeah.
reasons, and you understand it, then you have a good hairstylist, as opposed to a lot of the hairstylists will go through and go, okay, sit down, let's try this out.
Yeah.
And that's when things go south.
Yeah. Um, do you miss living in LA? Do you miss that kind of whole vibe and that client? And why did you move to Seattle?
I miss tacos.
Oh,
I
yeah.
miss really good food.
Yeah.
Seattle has their scene and it's okay.
Yeah.
But the fruit and veg and everything is not fresh here.
Yeah.
So I really do miss like the customer service and everything of LA. But as far as the lifestyle, you're always on. You always have to be at
Mm,
the cool new restaurant or at the cool new club, or my next door neighbor was a publicist, so thank God I can get into a lot of places and meet people, and that's kind of how you got your name put out
yeah.
in LA. It was like, oh, you're such a name dropper. You have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be, because who are you going to trust? Are you going to trust the person that just cut, Charlize Theron's hair? Or are you going to trust the person that didn't? It's like, who are you going to go and see? So you name drop to go through and let people know who you've done. It's like Jack one time was on a photo shoot with this company, and the person that he was doing was Brad Pitt. He flew in on a helicopter, and he recognized Jack. And he goes, "Hey, cut my hair. Thank God you're here. I need a haircut. Do you mind cutting it before we do the shoot?" He's like, "Sure." Cuts his hair. Next thing you know, the owner of that, of that company that was putting on the commercial,
Yeah.
became his client.
Wow.
So you get these high profile clients because if Brad's going to trust you to cut his hair, I'm going to trust you to cut my hair
And
and my family.
how did Brad know him? Just because of him in the industry?
Oh, because we both worked at Chris McMillan, and
Okay.
he was because of Jennifer, and he would come in.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And I know it's been many, many years ago. He just recognized him from the salon, and they knew each other because Chris would cut his hair. He'd be the one either shampooing him or something. So you become friendly with these people. So when they see you, it's like, oh, a sigh of relief. It's like someone I know is here.
Yeah.
Because they're surrounded by people that they don't know majority of the time.
Yeah.
Especially when you're out on location, all new people. So when you see someone who you recognize, then it's, you're fine.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. People kind of let their guard down, and, especially when they're changing their clothes and things like that. You just kind of turn your head, and make sure the hair is right when it's all done.
Yeah.
But they trust that you're not having, your phone out or a camera out, or, because that's one of the things was back then was the paparazzi around the salon.
Oh, really? So they'd wait for them to go in or out?
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And when I worked there, I smoked at the time, and I remember walking. I was actually Charlize. I walked her out of the salon, and I was having a cigarette, and she turns the corner, and you thought that Princess Di was still alive. I mean, it was just boom, the amount of flash and the lights. It was like a lightning strike.
Do they hate that?
She turned her head, and she looked at me, and I go, I didn't call them. And she goes, "I know, they've been following me since I left the house." She's like, "It's insane." I could not imagine.
I couldn't either.
And I ran too, because I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
It is so annoying. But I mean, I haven't been in LA, God, 10 years now, so I don't know exactly what it's like anymore. But that was probably one of the most annoying parts, is they were everywhere, filming everything, everywhere you went.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
Do you do any travel for people? Do you travel to your clients ever?
I used to. That used to be a big thing in LA. Here, not so much. You do a few house calls every now and again. We'll get some high profile people.
Yeah.
And I'll go to their hotel and do their hair. But in LA, that was a big thing. We've had, you get private airplanes, you get helicopters flying you to places. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been on a private airplane like Jack has. I've been on, a private helicopter before, flown around, but never I've had friends of mine get flown to Dubai. But I also worked for a large hairdressing company, and I flew around the world working with them. I've been to 22 different countries, doing hair shows. And the next thing you know, the wives are kind of like, "Hey, we're going to fly you down to Colombia." And
that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome, though. Getting away to see the world like that.
It was really cool. I have to admit, I got to see a lot of the world. And I would take side vacations afterwards.
Yeah.
But we would do all these hair shows all over the world. It was back then. It was Bedhead. I worked for them. Right. And that was a huge brand. I mean, Britney Spears was that little, remember the Control Freak baby?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That was Bedhead.
Yeah.
That was that line. So we were everywhere. We were like gods when it came to the hairdressing world. So we were getting flown out to do all sorts of things. So I got to see, and I was going to London. I would go to London at least once a year, at least, for new collection stuff or just learning all the new haircuts, and then just taking it out to the masses afterwards. So it was nice, not just working behind the chair, but seeing the rest of the world, and really you got to experience it on their level with the hairdressers. And they would tell you about their country and want to take you out. And that was probably the best time I've ever had.
Getting the local tour from a local person is pretty amazing.
Especially when you're in the same industry, you're the same people.
Yeah.
Just in a different location. And they want to show you where they're getting their fashion stuff from, or the great restaurants in their areas and stuff like that. So it was great. And then working with the distributors who half of them distributed shampoo and the other half distributed other stuff. You know what I mean? So you got to see a lot of weird shit. There's another story that we need to talk about that I haven't put on the podcast yet, where I've actually walked into a hotel room and there was like a mountain of coke and some prostitutes everywhere, and I was like, whoa.
Were you like, I gotta get out of here because this is not
very
safe?
fast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy that I'm talking about, I know now, is in a Puerto Rican jail. He's sitting there for distribution. Yeah. I don't know how many years he got, but let me tell you, he got caught with a mountain of blow.
Wow.
So yeah, so you see a lot of stuff that kind of happens, but what better way to wash money but with shampoo?
Yeah.
I mean, the irony in that is just it's genius,
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on. Everyone, go listen to Jason's podcast. And again, it's Shit I Told My Hairdresser. It's on all the podcast platforms. I really enjoy it. I subscribe to it. Go on and take a look. And you want to say the name of your salon or anything?
No, we're going to leave that out.
Okay, we're going to leave that out.
We're going to leave that part out. You know what I mean? Just because there's a lot of stories as well, though, too. You know what I mean? So I don't want to
Got it. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on. You've been an amazing guest, and I appreciate it. And I would love to meet Jack one day, too, because I love his sense of humor, as dry as it is on your podcast. So
I'm sorry he couldn't make it. Yeah, but he apologizes. But yeah, for sure, next time.
All right, great. Thanks for being on, Jason. I appreciate you.
Thank you.